Oh, I must be in heaven. Such a freaking intense battle. So what's up guys, Foxen here. This week, Kirito and Eugeo vs Integrity Knight Synthesis 2. Looks like a new Integrity Knight fight each week. By the way, did you notice the new changes in the opening? I do have a full in-depth breakdown on the new SAO Alicization opening. Definitely check that out after. And don't forget to subscribe for weekly SAO videos from a super SAO fan. This week, two wild lolis appeared. Aw, some super cute, adorable little girls. They only wanted to see some dark territory demons. Funny how Quinella is using that obvious line about Eugeo and Kirito. These guys aren't demons. At least not Eugeo. I gotta love Kirito's reaction to these girls. Kirito was like, oh, not old enough. I'll leave them to you, buddy. But holy hell, that loli stab. Holy crap, that is deep. These lolis were traps all along. I recall reading this chapter and just being really suspicious of these two little girls. I mean, come on, little girls are always bad news in horror movies and in anime. Potentially sometimes having god tier powers. Who knows, they could have been the demons instead. There is a slight change here from the light novel. Linnell originally gave her full name as Linnell Synthesis 28 before stabbing Eugeo. It seemed like Eugeo let his guard down since the little swords of theirs looked like wooden practice swords to him. As for Linnell and Fiddle's origin, what the hell was up with that line from her? Oh, Quinella just ordered the monks and nuns to create them. Just knowing Quinella, I could only imagine that not being under fun conditions. Both of these turned out to be one of Quinella's fun experiments. Let's just go ahead and test the boundaries on resurrection. What was that one line about not doing human transmutation on the dead? Quinella must have missed that episode. But forget about the resurrection part for a second, just making little kids kill one another. I mean, with the anime version, this gives a deeper crap taste in my mouth. Come on, Quinella, I'm trying not to hate you. Although do notice, it looks like Quinella wasn't great at everything. You got the exploding munchkin at the start, then this deformed flesh chunk over here. That was definitely straight out of Fullmetal Alchemist. I do have to give the two little girls some massive credits. They were actually clever in a way. They figured out the correct way to be monster reborn, without the monster part. The simple solution? Just make your death as clean as possible. A one-hit kill. To be honest, I'm not sure whether these nasty side effects were due to Quinella just sucking at resurrection, or just a given property of playing God with other people's Flucklight. A Flucklight should almost immediately be destroyed when killed, so perhaps that's a bigger part of it. Something they didn't mention in the anime was how these girls didn't come back out of their revive completely a-okay. They often lost chunks of memories from the past few days when they respawned. And then you could just imagine how it affected their mental state. Either way, at the very end, only two remained. Mwahaha. But holy crap, both of these two girls had to endure this non-stop daily, just killing for 3 years straight. I do wonder what made Quinella finally say screw it. Time for the next experiment. I mean, if you think about it, this type of thing would have required Quinella to be there on site for the purpose of actually doing the reviving. I could only imagine her calling it quits sooner or later for more important matters, like sleeping naked on her best friend. I'm not sure whether to think Quinella was stupid for taking too long, or for being frickin' persistent. I guess she does have time on her hands. Something interesting that got cut out of these girls' backstory. You heard about how they technically weren't Integrity Knights, but still had the synthesis rank in their names. Originally, they were only apprentices at the start. It was actually briefly mentioned how these two were matched up against two newbie Integrity Knights. Unsurprisingly, these two girls came out on top. I mean, they had 3 freaking years of killing over and over. In other words, both of these two girls simply replaced the 2 knights they executed. I'm just wondering how Quinella handled that situation. Oh, these 2 young girls got summoned to replace 2 Integrity Knights. Yeah, that's it. Don't ask questions, Bercoli or Alice. So next up, floor 50. By the way, it was super quick, but did you notice the art of the 3 goddesses at the very top? I am loving these small details. Anyway, say hello to Integrity Knight Synthesis 2, Fanatio. So, Fanatio is second in command for all of these Integrity Knights. But is she really the second strongest? But sorry little ladies, Kirito has woken. Kirito for the win with that ninja move. I did find it interesting how they didn't show you at all Kirito's face while they were moving these guys upstairs to the 50th floor. I was a little surprised to see these girls carrying this paralysis cure on hand. What is this, freaking Pokemon? Could it be that they were actually testing this poison on themselves? I bet that's it. Either way, good thing the experienced Kirito was actually suspicious of the little girls from the very start. I'm sure that's part of the SAO experience kicking in, unlike the very trusting naive Eugeo. I bet these girls remind of him of Selka back from the village. By the way, I do have to mention something about Kirito here. Despite showing his SAO expertise, Kirito was perfectly fine with just showing his back to the other Integrity Knights number 2 plus her squad. I guess gotta be thankful these knights are oh so polite in the Underworld. Anyway, now Kirito versus the knights. Freaking Fanatio wasted no time going into her Shikai form. Does the second in command Integrity Knight really need to go all out with that much power? Or did she really just want to liquefy Kirito quickly? Either way, poor Kirito was quickly turning into Swiss cheese. Kirito's first attempt to smash her only resulted in that broken wing on her helmet. Great job, buddy. As for the heaven-piercing blade's origins, so nice of Fanatios to spill this information to an enemy without Kirito even asking for it. I'm not sure if Kirito would have thought about using a mirror if she didn't say anything. But anyway, this divine object was one of Quinella's little experiments. She used a whole ton of mirrors just to abuse the power of the sun goddess, pretty much creating this weapon that could use solar beam non-stop. What the hell, I'm calling hacks. Not mentioned in the anime was how this in reality was this abandoned experiment by Quinella. Preparations for all of these mirrors to use as a weapon took way too long. Quinella really didn't want all these 1K glasses to go to waste, so she made this divine weapon. See, Quinella isn't all bad, she recycles. As for Kirito's counterattack, mirror, mirror on the wall, please reveal who's the first of them all. Too bad that mirror quickly melted almost immediately. Something not mentioned in the anime is how it's actually pretty easy to create these objects like mirrors or knives using low tier element sacred arts. However, the life in these things isn't comparable to the true thing. They only last a couple of hours at most. Anyway, getting into Fanatio's grand reveal. Oh, she's a lady. But more importantly, insecure about being female. I was really curious to see how this would be portrayed in the anime version. I mean, she was freaking pissed the hell off. That's how you know you fucked up, Kirito. Run. Even Asuna didn't prepare you for this rage. I actually don't recall how many of the Integrity Knights didn't know about her being female. The two little girls here definitely didn't. On the other hand, the top 9 Curly definitely knew. And I'm sure Alice knew too. And probably some of her knight squad. Unfortunately not shown in the anime, were the reaction of her knights finding out that she has this beautiful lady face. By the way, here's the second thing not mentioned is something regarding the Dark Knight in her flashback. That was actually a commander of the Dark Knights. I'm just loving the little hints being dropped. As for Kirito's thoughts on this, turns out he's all about gender equality, like a certain other isekai protagonist. Kirito mentioned something about losing to females in the past, most recently to Lina Senpai. But Kirito has also been pushed to his limits against Asuna and Sao. Of course, that matchup not shown in the anime. As for Fanatio's little memory here, that was a top 9 Bercoli. The sad part about this is that she does have a thing for him, but her feelings haven't been returned. And that's not even after she tried to pretty herself up to get his attention. Like I said, I'm actually feeling bad for her. About 100+ years of waiting for that special someone to notice you, but no luck. Anyway, something new revealed this episode, or should I say unleashed this episode. The Divine Sword Release Recollection, pretty much on the Integrity Knight's Bankai. Unfortunately for her dumbass, that was pretty much a suicidal move. The heaven-piercing sword will penetrate anyone without discrimination. Thankfully, you did have Eugeo to the rescue with his own Blue Rose Shikai, the enhanced armament. So yes, Eugeo's technique focuses more on stopping the opponent, literally freezing them into place, which is pretty appropriate. Better get that ready to use on Alice. I was really curious to see how the blizzard move would look in the anime. I only pictured more vines and roses on the ice freezing the knights. As for Eugeo screaming out that these knights don't know what justice is, let me add a little context to this. Eugeo had been thinking that these knights were just the worst, and outright hating them for what they did for poor Alice. But now, Eugeo is finding out just how human these Integrity Knights actually are. Despite that, Eugeo can't bring himself to actually think that these knights are being in the right, which led to Eugeo screaming out that line about them not being just. In other words, Eugeo is very much conflicted over his thoughts on these Integrity Knights. Oh, and about that cliffhanger. Perfect way to end this episode. You got Kirito busting out his own Shikai. I mean, enhanced armament or perfect weapon control. Just take your pick. By the way, here's a little something so you're not disappointed next week. I've seen a lot of you mentioning or hoping that Kirito's Shikai or Bankai is him dual wielding. Let me just confirm that it's not. If you really want to know, ask down below. But definitely don't get your hopes up for something that's not coming next week. Overall, I think this episode was nearly perfect. Pretty near damn perfect adaptation from the novel to the anime. Although this episode really got me thinking. It especially made me wish that they took an extra episode or two just to flesh out some of the earlier stuff. I mean, just cause every single thing that is coming now is based on this initial foundation. I really only wish they gave some of the earlier stuff more room to breathe. For me, it just seemed like a simple problem that could have easily been fixed. but we'll see how it comes out. At the very least, they should have considered doing something like ReZero. The situation for SAO Alicization and ReZero are super similar. I mean, a lot of stuff was cut out or heavily abridged for the ReZero anime. On the other hand, ReZero did have these simple anime short specials at the end. They went ahead and explained some of the deeper stuff about the world like magic, the government system, or elements that couldn't be fit into the actual episode. Hopefully they do something similar for the SAO Alicization Blu-ray. The first one is coming out soon. Next up, let's talk about the opening that got an upgrade. It is only a couple of changes that aren't too drastic, so I don't think it needs its own video. To start this off, at the beginning you got this new UI effect during Kirito and Eugeo's intro. It also now says Alicization Rising, which is a reference to the light novel name, which is them literally rising through the Axiom Church tower. Next up, for the Kirito slash at the Blazing Integrity Night, the opening got upgraded to Kirito using a sword skill instead of a regular slash. For a completely new scene, you have Eugeo vs Bercoli. Freaking awesome. It looks like they heard my complaints about no Bercoli in the opening. They went ahead and replaced that weird shot of Eugeo and Kirito in the Academy apprentice uniforms. Of course, this is foreshadowing the upcoming Bercoli fight. I mean, just seeing this preview in the bath is getting me super hyped. Please do Bercoli some justice. The guy is pretty awesome. Next up, Quinella. So now she's looking a lot more evil in that bloodbath. I'm glad that they touched up this original scene since the original felt like it was missing some detail. And now for the final major change. It's just all the images overlaid with the raging bloody Kirito. You now have solid shots of Quinella on the bed and bed of skulls, unlike beforehand. Oh Quinella, please make me your knight. Same thing for the light cubes, although that is definitely not as interesting as the wicked Quinella. By the way, really quickly, I do have a full breakdown on the new opening. That is up now. Definitely check that out next. I did include a major spoiler section at the end of the video, for those of you that want to know more about what's coming up. As for some of the light novel changes for the anime, this episode not much changed or cut out. It was mostly small but interesting details. First off is Eugeo getting stabbed by that poison dagger. Eugeo at this moment thought about how he could cure poison, although he didn't know how to cure poison that was prepared for battle usage. You know, since venom was prohibited in battles. Next up, Kirito versus the second in command Integrity Knight. Something mentioned in the novel was how this marble used to construct this tower was of the highest grade. It basically meant you couldn't destroy it or melt it no matter how hot you got the temperature. For example, if you think back to the previous episode in the fight, the carpet on the ground melted, but that blazing fire didn't do any damage to the surrounding area. Now looking back at this fight, just the power of that heaven-piercing sword was actually damaging the area. In other words, she was way much stronger. Now for the last little detail about their fight. Eugeo noted that this Integrity Knight versus Kirito in the fight meant that both of their swords should have been losing life, assuming that both of their demon swords were on equal level. In a stalemate, Kirito's sword would come out on top since it was thicker and heavier. But anyway, let me hear from you now. Question of the day. How awesome was this week's Integrity Knight battle? Was it better than last week's fight? I think last week's fight definitely looked visually better. And are you hyped to see Kirito's Shikai next week? Anyway, be sure to smash that thumbs up and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, you can enjoy weekly SAO videos right here. My full juicy breakdown on the new opening is out now. You don't want to miss that. Also, don't forget to check out where SAO ranked for my top anime of 2018. Go find out, hit bell notifications, and I'll see you guys later.